Hello, amazing English learners, and welcome back to English Podcast for Life. I'm Sarah, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you today.
And I'm Mark, just as thrilled to be your co-host. We've got a fantastic episode lined up, one we truly believe can transform your English journey.
Absolutely. Today, we're tackling a big topic: 5 daily habits for fluent English. Fluency often feels like this distant, almost magical goal, doesn't it, Mark?
It really does. People often think it's about being born with a special talent or living abroad for years. But it's not magic at all. It's about consistency.
Exactly. It's about building small, manageable habits into your everyday life. These aren't huge, time-consuming tasks. They're practical, actionable changes.
Changes you can start implementing today to see real, noticeable progress. So, whether you're commuting, working out, or just relaxing at home, we hope this episode resonates with you.
Grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's start building those powerful habits for English fluency.
Sarah, before we dive into the habits, let's talk about fluency. What does it actually mean to be fluent in English?
That's a great question, because I think many learners have a misconception. It's not about speaking perfectly, is it? Not about never making a mistake or having zero accent.
You're absolutely right. For us, fluency is about communicating effectively and confidently. It's about being able to express your ideas, understand others, and keep a conversation going without constantly struggling for words.
Yes, it's about the flow, the ability to express yourself naturally, even if you need to rephrase something or pause briefly. It's not about being a native speaker clone.
Precisely, it's about connection. Can you connect with a native speaker? Can you get your message across? Can you understand theirs? That's what we aim for.
And it's important to remember that fluency is a journey, not a destination. Even native speakers learn new words and expressions throughout their lives. These habits help you make consistent progress, inch by inch, day by day.
That's a crucial point. Don't expect to be fluent overnight. This isn't a quick fix, it's about consistent effort.
It's about celebrating small victories along the way. Did you use a new phrase today? Did you understand a complex sentence? Those are wins.
Absolutely. So, with that in mind, let's explore why these daily habits are so powerful.
So, Mark, why daily habits? Why not just intense, long study sessions once a week?
Good question. It's all about consistency and building those neural pathways in your brain. Think of it like getting fit. If you try to go to the gym for 8 hours once a month, it's not nearly as effective as 30 minutes every single day.
That's such a perfect analogy. Our brains learn through repetition and regular exposure. Small, consistent efforts really do compound over time. They add up.
They really do. And daily habits make learning feel less daunting. It becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or having your morning coffee. It's not a big, scary chore you have to motivate yourself for once a week.
I agree. When it's just part of your routine, the resistance is much lower. You just do it.
And it keeps English active in your mind. You're always processing it, using it, interacting with it. It prevents your English skills from getting rusty.
It's like keeping a muscle toned. You don't just work out once and expect to stay strong forever. You need regular exercise.
Exactly, and that regular exercise for your English is what we're going to talk about today. 5 specific habits you can start building into your day, every day.
All right, with that foundation laid, are you ready to jump into our very first habit? This one is absolutely foundational.
I'm ready, Sarah. Let's get to it. So, our first habit, the cornerstone for all the others, is active listening.
This is so crucial, Mark. Many learners hear English, but they don't actively listen. What's the difference in your view?
That's a fantastic distinction, Sarah. Hearing is passive, it just sounds entering your ears. It's like background noise. Active listening, though, involves focused attention.
So, it's about engagement? Not just having a podcast on while you do the dishes?
Precisely, active listening means you're truly engaged with the material. You're trying to understand the main idea? Yes, but also picking out new vocabulary. Noticing how words connect, and even catching the speaker's intonation and emotion.
That makes sense. So, it's about processing, not just receiving. Why is this so important for fluency?
Well, it directly improves your comprehension. The better you understand, the more confident you become. It also helps you internalize natural rhythm and pronunciation. When you hear how native speakers connect words, you start to imitate that.
It definitely prepares you for speaking too, doesn't it? If you don't listen well, how can you respond well?
Exactly, it's the input that feeds the output. And it helps you recognize grammatical patterns naturally, without having to memorize rules.
So, how can our listeners actually practice active listening effectively?
First, choose the right materials. Podcasts like ours, audiobooks, news reports, TED Talks, documentaries. The key is to find something at a level that challenges you slightly, but isn't so difficult you give up. B1 or B2 is usually a good starting point.
I always suggest starting with topics you genuinely find interesting. If you are bored, you won't actively listen.
Great point. Second, listen multiple times. The first time, listen for the general idea. Don't worry about every word.
Just get the gist, right? The main message.
Exactly. The second time, focus on specific details. Try to pick out key vocabulary or phrases. What new words can you identify?
And then, the third time, maybe focus on pronunciation or intonation.
Absolutely. Try to mimic how they say certain words or phrases. Even pause and repeat after them. This is often called shadowing. It's incredibly effective for improving your spoken rhythm.
I used to just listen to music in English, thinking it was enough. But when I started listening to interviews and actually paused to look up words or rewind to understand a tricky sentence, my comprehension just skyrocketed. It was a game changer.
That's a perfect example, Sarah. And don't be afraid to focus on challenging parts. If there's a sentence you don't understand, rewind and try to understand it. Don't just skip it.
Sometimes I'll even write down a new phrase I hear. Just a quick note in my phone.
That leads to another great tip: take notes. Jot down new words, interesting expressions, or even grammatical structures you hear. This moves it from passive listening to active engagement.
So, it's about making listening a deliberate activity. Even if it's only for 15 or 20 minutes a day.
Precisely, 15 to 20 minutes of focused active listening daily is far more effective than hours of passive listening as background noise. It's about quality over quantity.
So, for our listeners today, here's a challenge you can try. When you're done listening to our podcast, pick another short audio source. Maybe a news report or a short TED Talk. And try to actively listen for just 10 or 15 minutes.
And here's a little extra tip for that. Try to summarize what you heard out loud afterwards. Even if it's just to yourself, it forces you to process the information.
That's a great one. It really shows you what you've actually absorbed.
So, that's habit number 1, active listening. It's about making every minute count when you're listening to English.
Fantastic. Ready for habit number 2? This one is often a big focus for learners.
I'm ready. Let's talk about vocabulary.
Welcome back to English Podcast for Life. We've just talked about the power of active listening. Now, let's move on to habit number 2, which is often a big focus for learners. Intentional vocabulary acquisition.
Yes, and the key word here, Sarah, is intentional. It's not just about collecting words, it's about using them, owning them.
Exactly. Many people grab a dictionary and try to memorize long lists. But how effective is that really?
Not very, in my experience. You might remember the definition for an hour. But if you don't use it, it quickly fades. Intentional acquisition means you're learning words in a way that makes them stick.
So, why is this kind of learning crucial for fluency?
Well, it directly expands your expressive range. The more words you know and can use, the more nuanced and precise your communication becomes. You sound more natural.
And it really boosts confidence too. When you have the right words, you feel more comfortable speaking.
Absolutely, you're not struggling to explain a concept with limited vocabulary. You have the tools you need.
So, how do our listeners become more intentional about learning new words? What are some practical steps?
First and foremost, learn in context. Don't learn isolated words. Learn phrases, collocations, that's how words naturally go together. Like heavy rain, not just heavy and rain separately.
Yes, break a leg means good luck. But if you only know break and leg, it makes no sense.
Perfect example. Second, consider using spaced repetition systems. Tools like Anki or Quizlet are fantastic. They show you words just when you're about to forget them, which optimizes your memory.
They really do work. They take the guesswork out of reviewing.
Third, keep a dedicated vocabulary notebook or use an app. But don't just write down the word. Include example sentences, synonyms, antonyms, and even a small drawing or symbol to help you remember.
I always tell people, when you learn a new word, try to create 3 different sentences using it right away. It really helps it stick.
That's a fantastic tip, Sarah. And try to actively use those new words when you're speaking or writing. Force yourself to incorporate them into your daily English practice.
I remember I learned the word ubiquitous, meaning everywhere. And for a week, I tried to use it in every single conversation. My friends found it annoying, but I learned the word.
That's a memorable way to do it. And finally, personalize your learning. Focus on words relevant to your interests, your job, your daily life. If you love cooking, learn cooking vocabulary.
If you're passionate about environmental issues, dive deep into that specific vocabulary. It makes it so much more engaging.
Exactly. You're more likely to use and remember words that are meaningful to you.
So, for our listeners, here's a challenge connected to intentional vocabulary. Each day this week, choose 5 to 10 new words that you genuinely want to learn. Make a conscious effort to use each of them, at least once when you're speaking or writing in English.
And try to learn them with their common partners, those collocations. It'll make your English sound much more natural.
Great advice, Mark. So, that's habit number 2. Intentional vocabulary acquisition. It's about smart, active word learning.
All right, Sarah, let's move on to our third habit. This one often strikes a bit of fear into the hearts of many learners. Consistent speaking practice.
Oh, I remember that fear, Mark. The fear of making mistakes, of sounding silly. But it's absolutely vital. You simply cannot become fluent without opening your mouth.
You're absolutely right. It's the most direct path to fluency. So, why is consistent speaking so important?
Well, it builds confidence, for a start. Every time you speak, even if you make a mistake, you're building courage. It improves your fluency and pronunciation because you're actively producing sounds and connecting words.
And crucially, it helps you identify gaps in your knowledge. You quickly realize what vocabulary you're missing or which grammar points you're struggling with when you try to use them.
Yes, suddenly, you know exactly what you need to go back and study. It makes English feel much more natural, too, when you're regularly using.
So, the big question is, how can our listeners practice speaking consistently? Especially if they don't have a native speaker to talk to every day.
This is where many people get stuck. But there are so many ways. First, talk to yourself, seriously. Describe your day out loud, narrate your actions as you do them.
I am now making a cup of coffee. First, I boil the water. It sounds silly, but it works. It keeps English active in your brain.
It really does, and you can practice conversations in your head. What would you say if someone asked you about your plans for the weekend?
Second, record yourself. This is tough, I know. Hearing your own voice can be uncomfortable, but it's incredibly effective. Listen back to identify areas for improvement. Pronunciation, pacing, even if you're using filler words too much.
It's like having a free tutor, isn't it? You become your own critic and coach.
Exactly. Third, if possible, find a language partner or a tutor. Online platforms make this easier than ever. Websites like Italki or Tandem connect you with native speakers or other learners.
Even just 15-20 minutes of conversation a few times a week can make a huge difference. The pressure is much lower than in a formal class.
Fourth, join online communities or local meetups. Many cities have English-speaking clubs. Online, there are forums and Discord servers dedicated to language exchange. Group practice can reduce the individual pressure.
And finally, something we mentioned with listening, but it applies here too, shadowing. Listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they say, focusing on their intonation, rhythm, and speed.
The key, Sarah, is to just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never feel 100% ready. Just speak.
So true, the fear of mistakes is a huge barrier. But mistakes are how we learn.
So, here's a challenge for our listeners. Today, or sometime this week, set a timer for just 5 to 10 minutes and talk about anything that comes to mind in English. Describe your room, your day, or a recent movie you watched. And if you dare, record it and listen back.
That's a brave challenge, Mark, but a powerful one. It really pushes you out of your comfort zone.
It does, and that's where the growth happens. So, that's habit number 3, consistent speaking practice. Don't be afraid to use your voice. We'll be right back after a short break to talk about our final 2 crucial habits. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone. We've discussed active listening, intentional vocabulary, and consistent speaking. Now, let's dive into habit number 4, which is incredibly powerful but often gets overlooked: daily reading.
Absolutely, Sarah. Reading is a fantastic, low-pressure way to absorb language naturally. You encounter natural sentence structures, pick up new vocabulary organically, and quietly reinforce grammar rules.
It's almost like a silent immersion, isn't it? You're just taking it all in.
Exactly. Your brain is processing English in a structured way. Why is daily reading so crucial for becoming fluent, in your opinion?
Well, it definitely improves your comprehension. The more you read, the better you understand different writing styles and complex ideas. It also solidifies grammar and spelling because you're seeing correct usage repeatedly.
And it certainly boosts your vocabulary without you even realizing it sometimes. You infer meanings from context, which is a key skill.
And it expands your general knowledge too. You learn about new topics while learning English.
So true. So, how can our listeners make daily reading an effective habit?
First, choose engaging materials. This is vital. Don't force yourself to read something boring. Find articles, blogs, short stories, graded readers, news. If you love cooking, read cooking blogs in English. If you're into tech, read tech news.
That's a game changer. When I started reading about my hobbies in English, it stopped feeling like study and started feeling like fun.
Precisely. Second, read actively, but don't stop for every single word. Try to infer meaning from context. If a word isn't absolutely crucial to understanding the sentence, just keep going. You can always look it up later if it keeps appearing.
Yes, it's about balancing comprehension with flow. You want to enjoy the process.
Third, vary your reading sources. Don't just stick to one type of material. Read different genres from different writers. This exposes you to a wider range of vocabulary and structures.
From a news article to a short fiction story, it all helps. And fourth, set a time limit. Even 10 or 15 minutes of dedicated reading daily makes a tremendous difference. It's consistent exposure.
My personal tip for this is using audiobooks with accompanying text. You can read along while listening. It helps connect the written word with pronunciation and rhythm.
That's a fantastic method for combining listening and reading. It strengthens both skills simultaneously.
So, for our listeners, here's a challenge related to daily reading. This week, find an English language news website or a blog that genuinely interests you. Try to read just one short article every day. Don't worry about understanding every single word. Just focus on the main idea and enjoying the content.
And if you want an extra challenge, try to summarize that article out loud, or even just in your head after you've read it. It helps confirm your comprehension.
Great idea. So, that's habit number 4, daily reading. Make it an enjoyable part of your routine.
All right, Sarah, we've arrived at our final habit. This one is perhaps the most metacognitive, but it's absolutely crucial for sustained progress. Regular review and reflection.
This is where you consolidate everything, isn't it? It's about checking in with yourself and your learning.
Exactly. It's like a personal quality control system for your English learning journey. Why is review and reflection so important?
Well, it solidifies learning. If you don't review, new information can quickly fade. It also helps you identify weak areas. Are you constantly making the same mistake? Are you struggling with a particular grammar point? Reflection helps you pinpoint those.
And it really helps you track your progress. Sometimes, when you're learning every day, it feels like you're not moving forward. But when you review, you can see how far you've come. That's a huge motivator.
It truly is. It prevents that feeling of being stuck. So, how can our listeners build this habit into their routine?
First, schedule weekly or monthly review sessions. Look back at your vocabulary notes, your listening logs, or even listen to old speaking recordings. How has your pronunciation changed?
That's a brave thing to do, listening to old recordings. But incredibly insightful.
It really is. Second, based on your review, identify your common mistakes or areas for improvement. Then, set new, focused goals. For instance, this week, I will focus on the present perfect tense or I will practice the th sound.
So, it's about being strategic with your next steps.
Precisely. Third, celebrate your small wins. Don't just focus on what you can't do. Acknowledge your progress, no matter how small. Did you use a new idiom successfully? That's fantastic.
Yes, positive reinforcement is so important for motivation.
And finally, consider journaling in English. Write about your learning journey, your challenges, your successes, even your feelings about learning. This helps you process everything and also gives you more writing practice.
That's a brilliant idea. It's productive and reflective. I actually started doing that. And it's so satisfying to look back at entries from months ago and see how far my English has come.
It truly shows the power of consistent effort. Review and reflection give purpose to all the other habits.
So, here's a challenge for you, our listeners, related to this habit. At the end of each week, spend just 10 minutes reflecting. Write down 2 new things you learned in English that week, and 1 area you want to specifically focus on improving for the following week.
And celebrate those 2 new things. That's crucial.
Absolutely. So, that's habit number 5. Regular review and reflection. It's how you consolidate, grow, and stay motivated.
Wow, Sarah, that was a packed episode. 5 incredibly powerful habits that really can change your English fluency.
They absolutely can't, Mark. It's been such a fantastic discussion. To quickly recap for everyone, our 5 daily habits for fluent English are active listening, intentional vocabulary acquisition, consistent speaking practice, daily reading, and regular review and reflection.
Remember, it's not about doing everything perfectly from day one. It's about consistency and gradually making English a natural, integrated part of your daily routine.
Start small. Pick 1 or 2 habits you feel most comfortable with this week, and then gradually add more as you build momentum. You'll be amazed at your progress over time.
We genuinely believe these habits, when practiced consistently, are your roadmap to achieving confident, effective English fluency.
We'd absolutely love to hear which habits you're going to implement first. How are you going to start integrating English into your daily life?
Share your progress, ask us questions, and connect with our wonderful community of learners.
Your journey to fluency is unique, but you don't have to walk it alone. We're here to support you.
That's all for this episode of English Podcast for Life. Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep learning, keep practicing, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yes, keep up the amazing work. Bye for now.
See you next time.